Imagine a world where poverty is literally mathematically engineered out of existence,
Right.
where our society is powered by free energy, stargates, and temporal technology, and where the United States Constitution is completely rewritten using quantum physics. Welcome to the deep dive.
It really, it sounds like the premise for a blockbuster science fiction franchise, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
But we are actually looking at something far more grounded and, frankly, far more complex today.
Yeah, we have a massive stack of source material to get through, specifically a staggering 2026 document by George James Dukas.
Yeah.
It's titled The TDUFT Operator Framework for Constitutional Balance.
Which is quite a mouthful.
It is.
Yeah.
And the mission of this deep dive is to unpack exactly how the author applies unified field theory. So, literally, quantum and dimensional physics concepts to constitutional law.
Exact.
His goal is to create what he calls a lift economy. But before we jump into the deep end, we really need to offer a very important disclaimer.
Yeah, this is a crucial framing for everything we are about to discuss today.
Right, because this text contains some intensely politically charged concepts.
Very much so.
On one hand, it touches on ideas that we would traditionally categorize as left-wing. Things like guaranteed free health care for all citizens, universal free education, and a vast, unbreakable expansion of social safety nets.
Right, but then on the other hand, it heavily relies on ideas that would strictly be categorized as right-wing.
Right, like strict, unapologetic, merit-based hierarchies, rigorous personal accountability, and the total elimination of victimhood narratives in favor of structural responsibility.
So we need to make it absolutely clear to you, the listener, we're taking no sides here.
Not at all.
We are not endorsing any of these policies, nor are we condemning them. Our job today is to impartially report on the ideas exactly as they are presented in the original source material.
We are simply the guides walking you through a very unique architectural blueprint.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad we laid that out because, wow, this source material is incredibly dense.
Oh, it is.
I'm talking hundreds of pages of mathematical equations attempting to map human behavior and institutional flow.
It's a lot to take in.
But I promise you, if you stick with us, we are going to extract the ultimate aha moments together. Because beneath all the math, the actual mechanics of how this society operates are just wild.
They really are. And to understand how the author plans to fix a broken government, we first have to understand how he diagnoses the disease.
Right, and he doesn't use political pundits or historical trends for that.
No, he uses mathematics, specifically TDUFT.
Right, TDUFT.
Which stands for Transdimensional Unified Field Theory.
Okay. No.
In traditional science, a unified field theory is like the holy grail of physics. It's the attempt to reconcile gravity with quantum mechanics.
Right.
But Dukas takes that framework and applies it directly to human governance. He maps the three branches of the U.S. government to mathematical operators.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for anyone who hasn't taken advanced calculus recently like me, what exactly is an operator in this context?
So, in physics, an operator is essentially a function that acts on a certain state to produce a new state.
Okay.
It's a mechanism of transformation. In the TDUFT framework, systems are organized using base 10 harmonic cycles and operator balancing.
Right.
Dukas assigns the three branches of government to three foundational operators that must mathematically balance each other to function. First, there's phi, the directional or executive operator.
Okay, the phi operator.
Right. This is the capacity to act, coordinate, and maintain a coherent movement forward.
So in constitutional terms, we're talking about the presidency, the executive branch.
Correct. Next is Li, the interpretive or temporal operator.
Got it.
This is the capacity to interpret reality, stabilize the system, and maintain lawful development across time.
Which translates to the judiciary, right? The Supreme Court.
You've got the pattern perfectly.
Yeah.
And finally, there is the D operator.
The D operator.
The distributed or generative operator. This represents distributed representation, the ability to generate new ideas, and the capacity to handle multi-node variability.
So basically a lot of moving parts.
Exactly. The text actually refers to this as a high-noise, high-output system.
Which is obviously Congress. The legislative branch, so we have phi for the president, so I for the courts, and D for Congress.
Right.
But wait, a skeptic would look at this and say, we already have these three branches. They've existed for centuries.
Right.
What is the actual mathematical problem Dukas is diagnosing if the operators are already in place?
The diagnostic problem is what the text defines as the efficiency law.
The efficiency law.
The document outlines how Our current system, specifically the two-party system, introduces massive structural burdens that completely break the mathematical balance.
How interesting.
Dukas actually writes on page 42, and this is a direct quote, "The two-party system is not a political failure, it is a mathematical collapse of the generative operator."
Wow, a mathematical collapse.
Yeah. In physics terms, the current system creates contractive load and damping.
Let's break those terms down, because that sounds intense. What does contractive load look like in the real world of politics?
Well, contractive load is energy spent that actively resists the forward motion of the system.
Okay.
Think about the two-party system. It forces constant conflict by design. It's not about governance, it's about winner-take-all behavior, obstruction, procedural sabotage, and, endless lobbying.
So just fighting for the sake of fighting.
Exactly. That friction is literal thermodynamic drag on the system.
And what about damping?
Then you have the bureaucratic friction, the legislative reversals every time power changes hands, the administrative whiplash, where one administration undoes the work of the previous one. That is the damping.
And all of this destroys systemic efficiency.
Completely. It creates a fatal mathematical condition called bridge mismatch.
Bridge mismatch.
Because Congress, the D operator, is oscillating wildly between two extreme ideological poles, it fails to generate stable output.
Right, it's just swinging back and forth.
Consequently, the presidency, which is the phi operator, absorbs all that failure. It overreaches its bounds to get things done and becomes overloaded.
Okay, I see.
And then the judiciary, the psi operator, accumulates all this constitutional precedent faster than it can logically resolve cases. It creates temporal drag.
So the system effectively just chokes on its own exhaust.
Precisely.
Let me try an original analogy here to visualize this, just to make sure I'm following.
Sure, go ahead.
If the government is a car, Congress, that D operator, is the engine generating the power and the fuel mixture, right?
Yes.
The presidency, the phi operator, is the steering wheel and the transmission directing that power.
Right.
And the judiciary, the psi operator, is the suspension system keeping the whole thing stable on the road over time.
Exactly.
So what we have right now with the two-party system is like having two drivers fighting over the steering wheel while simultaneously pouring sugar in the gas tank while the suspension is bottoming out on every single pothole.
That analogy captures the mechanics perfectly. You're describing a system with massive bridge mismatch.
Wow.
The conversion potential of the system, its ability to turn human energy, taxes, and resources into actual progress, is plummeting because of the internal drag.
So the car isn't moving forward, it's just shaking itself to pieces on the driveway.
Exactly.
But wait, human beings are messy and emotional. I have to push back on the core logic of Dukas's premise here.
Okay, let's hear it.
How can he possibly think you can map a moody, unpredictable electorate to a base 10 harmonic cycle? Like, we're just numbers in a physics equation? I mean, people aren't particles.
It's a very fair point, and it's a fundamental critique. But Dukas addresses it by distinguishing between individual emotion and structural design.
Okay.
He argues that human emotion is indeed chaotic, which is exactly why the constitutional structure, cannot also be chaotic.
Well, that makes sense.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the text makes a radical claim. Eliminating the two-party system isn't just a nice political opinion for him.
Right.
It is a mathematical requirement for operator stability. By removing the forced division of parties, you stop forcing human chaos into a binary pressure cooker.
You let it breathe.
You allow the noise to distribute evenly, lowering the systemic drag. The text calculates that removing the two-party load automatically increases the constitutional efficiency by about 50%.
50%. That's massive.
Yeah.
And when efficiency rises, the system begins to generate what the author calls lift.
Yes, lift.
This is a term that comes up constantly in these sources. How does the text define lift?
Lift is really the unifying metric of this entire framework. It replaces gross domestic product, it replaces poll numbers, it replaces profit margin.
So, like the new standard of value.
Exactly. Lift is defined strictly as the accumulated durable improvement produced by a constitutional system.
Durable improvement.
Right. Does the system preserve and build conditions of stable human development over time? If yes, that is lift.
Okay.
If a policy makes someone wealthy but pollutes a river that costs billions to clean up later, that is a contractive load. It destroys lift.
This brings us to a fascinating transition. Because a highly efficient mathematical engine, this newly balanced party-free government, it needs the right fuel.
It does.
And in this framework, that fuel is the individual citizen. But the citizen can only power the system if they are starting from a fair baseline.
Which introduces the central innovation of the framework regarding the individual, the concept of actualization.
Yes, actualization. According to the
Yeah.
text, actualization is the constitutional threshold where a person formally enters full civic life.
Right.
It's not just blowing out the candles on your 18th birthday.
Far from it.
The text outlines that at the age of adulthood, every single citizen is guaranteed free healthcare, continuous free education, full social services, and expanded constitutional rights.
Yeah, the baseline philosophy is that no citizen should begin adulthood structurally abandoned by preventable deprivation.
So no one starts in a hole.
Exactly. From a systems engineering perspective, it is the normalization point for human operators. If you expect citizens to vote, work, innovate, and act responsibly to generate lift, the constitutional order must first provide the mathematical conditions where those expectations are actually realistic.
Right, because how can you?
You cannot demand high output generation from a citizen who is paralyzed by the stress of medical debt or housing insecurity.
But I'm looking at this list of guarantees, and my modern brain is just flashing warning signs.
Of course.
Wait, free healthcare for everyone, free advanced degrees, comprehensive social services.
It sounds incredibly expensive.
How on earth is this funded without completely collapsing the economy? I mean, we hear all the time about the national debt and budget deficits. If you tried to implement actualization today, the currency would hyperinflate into dust.
Your modern brain is reacting to traditional scarcity economics. You are calculating the cost using wages, debt, and limited resources.
Right, because that's the world we live in.
But Dukas introduces the concept of the lift economy. This entire constitutional framework implies and actually structurally requires the existence of advanced civilization-scale technologies.
Okay, here we go.
The text explicitly factors in free energy, advanced health platforms, star travel infrastructure, temporal technologies, and Stargate networks.
Okay, we need to pause on that word, stargates.
Yeah.
We are literally talking about stargates here,
Yeah.
like stepping through a portal to another place.
We are, and they're not just cool sci-fi backdrop elements, you know. They are structural prerequisites for the TDUFT government to operate.
Wait, they're required.
Yes. If you have stargates, you have the ability to move matter instantaneously across vast distances.
Right.
If you have free energy, the cost of powering that stargate is zero.
Wow.
The mathematical efficiency of a TDUFT government simply cannot survive the stress of resource scarcity. Scarcity creates friction, friction creates factions, and factions break the TDUFT equations.
Ah, I see how it all connects now.
So, the technology is literally required to eliminate the contractive load of poverty.
Think about what this means for you, the listener. If energy is free, manufacturing becomes incredibly cheap.
Dirt cheap.
If transportation is instantaneous via stargates, the entire concept of a global supply chain, shipping containers, cargo planes, fuel costs, logistics networks, it just vanishes.
Poof, gone.
When the foundational costs of living plummet to near zero, traditional economics collapses.
Money loses its meaning as the primary driver of human survival. Value is no longer based on extracting scarce resources and selling them for a margin.
Right, because nothing is scarce.
Value is organized entirely around durable improvement lift. Work is no longer tied to survival, it's tied to capability, creativity, and community stability.
That is such a paradigm shift.
Education replaces labor markets as the primary economic engine. Health is viewed as a public generator of capacity, not a private cost center.
There is this stunning visual metaphor in the source material for this new era. It describes a massive futuristic glass and stone structure shaped like an intersecting cross or a T.
Yes, I love this part.
It's glowing at night as it spans across a wide river with a glowing cityscape in the background.
The architecture is highly symbolic of the new mechanics.
It perfectly represents the transparent, bridging nature of these new public institutions.
Yeah.
It's illuminating the dark, connecting previously divided shores.
A literal bridge.
Exactly. It's a literal intersection, completely transparent. It's the physical embodiment of removing that bridge mismatch we talked about earlier.
The emphasis on transparency in that glass architecture is deeply intentional, too.
Oh.
If society possesses stargates and free energy, those technologies possess civilization-ending power if they're hoarded.
Good point.
You cannot have them controlled by a private corporate monopoly or a shadowy government faction. They must be publicly stewarded.
So everyone has to see what's happening.
The glass architecture symbolizes that the mechanics of power are entirely visible to the actualized citizen. No secrecy.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay.
If citizens are actualized, they have everything they need to survive, and money is no longer the driving force of society. How do we choose who leads?
That is the big question.
If a billionaire can't buy an election with a super PAC, and there are no political parties to rally behind, what replaces the campaign trail?
The framework replaces the popularity contest with harmonic mathematics, specifically the 10-point merit system.
The 10-point merit system.
This system completely dismantles and replaces Congress as we know it.
Let's dive deep into these 10 points because the text demands that representatives are measured against these specific categories.
Let's go through them.
Okay, number 1 is stability, meaning a history of no bankruptcies or major financial defaults.
Right.
Number 2 is legal reliability, no criminal or violent record.
Makes sense.
Number 3 is education-verified degrees, licenses, or mastery in a field. Number 4 is statesmanship-proven diplomatic or mediatory experience. And 5 is leadership managing complex systems or teams.
So that's the first half.
Right. Then we have 6, work ethic, measurable output in their previous field.
Okay.
7 is community extensive volunteer or civic service.
Nice.
8 is financial responsibility stewardship of public or private funds. 9 is creativity patents, artistic contributions, or novel problem solving.
I like that word.
And 10 is psychological reliability, meaning emotional regulation and no history of substance abuse impacting their duties.
These 10 categories are not arbitrary traits pulled out of a hat. Dukas maps these exactly to 10 harmonic human operators.
Okay, harmonic operators again.
In the physics of harmonic mathematics, 10 is the closure of a cycle. It's the minimum number of operators needed to stabilize a distributed system.
So you need all 10.
If you have fewer than 10, the math dictates you get undersampling and systemic instability.
You know, it reminds me of building a party in a complex fantasy role-playing game.
Ah, yes, exactly.
Right now, our current Congress is like a dungeon raid, where someone accidentally brought 535 bards who are all just fighting for the microphone to sing their own song.
That is a terrifying image.
It's chaotic. Nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Everyone is just performing for the camera.
Yeah.
But under this 10-point merit system, you actually have to build a mathematically balanced team.
You really do.
You need your healers, your tanks, your strategists, your innovators.
What's fascinating here is how that translates structurally. Congress isn't divided by Democrats and Republicans anymore.
Right, no parties.
It is literally divided into these 10 functional sections. You have a section of Congress purely dedicated to creativity, a section dedicated to stability, a section for statesmanship.
Let's play devil's advocate on the mechanics here.
Sure.
I look at point number 10. Psychological reliability.
Yeah.
The requirement for emotional regulation. Who decides what emotional regulation means?
It's a very valid concern.
I can easily see how determining someone's psychological fitness could become incredibly dystopian. It sounds like a back door to weed out passionate, disruptive thinkers.
Dukas anticipates that friction. The text specifies that these evaluations are strictly algorithmic and behavioral, not subjective psychological profiling.
Okay, so it's not a guy on a couch analyzing your dreams.
No. It is looking at documented histories of explosive volatility, chronic substance abuse that derailed professional duties, or documented inability to de-escalate conflicts.
Oh, I see.
It is not about suppressing passion. It is about filtering out individuals who introduce mathematical noise and contractive load into a system that requires extreme precision. The goal is distributed geometry.
Distributed geometry. Explain how that prevents the kind of factional capture we see today.
Well, in our current system, a single powerful faction, say, an industry lobby can capture a political party and force its agenda through by sheer numbers.
Right, it happens all the time.
But in a 10-section distributed geometry Congress, a representative elected to the creativity section is there strictly because they have demonstrated immense adaptive thinking, not because they pledged loyalty to a faction.
That changes everything.
To pass a complex initiative, it must mathematically balance across all 10 sections. The stability section will analyze it for risk. The financial responsibility section will audit the resource flow. The creativity section will optimize the design.
So Congress actually becomes a generative machine.
Yes. The D operator functions as it was meant to, processing the vast diversity of human potential without reducing it to a binary war.
A perfectly balanced 10-section Congress generates a massive amount of ideas. It's a phenomenal engine of creativity and distributed thought.
It really is.
But it still needs a unified direction. Someone has to sit in the driver's seat and steer the car.
Right.
Enter the president. But The way a president is selected in this framework is intense.
Oh, it's rigorous.
It's a grueling, multi-layered filter that makes modern campaigning look like a high school class election.
The executive branch, as we establish, is the PHI operator. The document explicitly calls the president the vector of lift.
The vector of lift.
The selection process is rigorously engineered to ensure this person is a true system steward, not just a charismatic performer who tests well in focus groups.
Walk us through this funnel because the mechanics are fascinating. First, state congresses conduct a massive qualification review of all eligible actualized citizens and each elect exactly one representative.
So one per state.
Right. So you start with 50 state representatives.
Mm-hmm.
Then the U.S. House of Representatives looks at those 50 individuals, runs them through the 10-point merit matrix, and nominates just 5.
Down to 5.
Then the Senate reviews those 5, conducts further deep dive evaluations, and selects 3. Finally, those final 3 candidates go to a national election where the public votes.
Notice the architecture of that process. At every single stage of that funnel, they aren't being evaluated on their ability to raise campaign funds or their poll numbers.
They don't even need money.
Exactly. They are being evaluated on the 13 dimensions of systematic leadership.
Let's detail some of those 13 dimensions because they read like a job description for the most competent human alive.
They really do.
There's deconstruction of assumptions, the ability to strip a complex societal problem down to its first principles without ideological bias.
Crucial skill.
There's self-resourcefulness, refusing to stop at the first failed approach and inventing new pathways. Governance, the ability to establish workflows and feedback loops that don't require constant micromanagement.
Imagine that.
Right? Awareness of root causes the foresight to prevent crises before they happen rather than just reacting to them. And, of course, integrity and professional standards.
It's an incredibly high bar.
Imagine a candidate failing at the deconstruction of assumptions phase because they couldn't separate a problem from their personal ego. They wouldn't even make it past the state level.
TDUFT provides a very clear directive on this. The text states that in a TDUFT framework, leadership is redefined as infrastructural, not performative.
Infrastructural.
It is a strict operational methodology. The presidency is not designed for a heroic individual who gives soaring emotional speeches to rile up a base.
So no more stadium rallies.
No, it is designed for a supreme systems integrator.
So the president is no longer a solitary heroic figure, but more of an ultimate systems engineer. Someone who manages the intricate architecture of the government rather than just shouting orders from a podium.
Precisely, and this ties directly into what the document calls the tri-operator activation protocols.
Okay, what are those?
Even with all these massive qualifications, the president cannot unilaterally activate TDUFT technology.
Wait, really? So the president can't just wake up in the Oval Office and say, turn on the stargates, we're moving resources to Mars today?
Absolutely not. Activation of civilization-scale technology requires mathematical coherence across all 3 operators.
Oh, all 3 have to agree.
It requires simultaneous approval from Congress, the generative D operator, the executive, the directional phi operator, and the judiciary, the temporal psi operator.
That is a serious check and balance.
The president's job is purely stability management. They are not managing scarcity, and they are not dictating unilateral action. The president ensures that the directional vector of the entire country remains aligned with increasing lift.
Okay, so Congress generates the ideas and processes the vast diversity of thought. The president integrates those ideas and directs the systems.
Right.
But what prevents society from crashing when things go wrong? Because even with stargates and free energy, things will go wrong.
Humans are still humans.
Right. We need a temporal anchor. We need shock absorbers on this car.
That brings us to the psi operator, the judiciary.
And the text is incredibly specific here. The Supreme Court is expanded to exactly 13 justices. Not 9, not 50. Exactly 13. Why that specific number?
To understand the math of 13, we have to look at the concept of a temporal lattice.
A temporal lattice.
The Supreme Court is the Constitution's wave coherence anchor. When the court is too small, say 5 or 9 justices, each individual judge carries an outsized mathematical weight.
Too much pressure on one node.
A single retirement or unexpected death can create massive ideological swings. That raises the contractive load and creates intense legal uncertainty across the entire society.
We see that whiplash effect today. 1 year, a specific constitutional right is protected, and a few years later, the makeup of the court changes and is completely overturned.
Yes, exactly.
It makes it impossible to plan for the future.
That whiplash is the definition of temporal drag. But by expanding to exactly 13 justices, the TDUFT framework creates a temporal lattice.
Okay, so how does a lattice work here?
Think of a physical lattice structure like a honeycomb or the molecular structure of a diamond. It absorbs and distributes impact perfectly.
Oh, I see.
With 13 justices, you distribute interpretive responsibility widely enough to reduce the volatility of swings, but keep it tight enough to prevent bureaucratic gridlock.
It's the Goldilocks number.
It maximizes the bridge coherence of the entire system, ensuring that interpretations of the law evolve smoothly over long cycles rather than violently oscillating.
And what are these 13 justices actually doing? Because this is where the document redefines the concept of justice entirely.
It's a huge shift.
It introduces the justice stability layer. In this framework, crime isn't viewed as a moral failing that requires the state to exact vengeance.
No, not at all.
It's viewed mathematically as a contractive load.
Crime is a literal drag on the conversion potential of society. Now remember the context. Most of the root causes of crime that we deal with today, crushing poverty, lack of health care, educational disparity, desperate resource hoarding, have already been mathematically eliminated by actualization and the lift economy.
Right. Because everyone has what they need.
But residual harm still happens. Interpersonal conflicts, accidents of negligence, emotional outbursts.
And when that harm happens, the justice system is entirely rehabilitative rather than punitive.
Entirely.
The document argues forcefully that punishing people, locking them in steel cages, isolating them, excluding them from society, destroys lift.
It does.
It creates systemic decay, it destroys families, ruins economic potential, and virtually ensures repeat offenses.
A punitive system increases exceptional loss. It takes a broken node in the system and breaks it further. A rehabilitative system seeks the durable reduction of harm. Under the justice stability layer, the focus shifts to intensive mental health support, skill development, community restitution, and mediated reintegration.
So the goal is fixing, not hurting.
The goal of the PSI operator is always to restore the individual's capacity to participate in the lift economy.
Now, I have to bring up a piece of this justice stability layer that genuinely gave me pause.
I think I know what you're going to say.
The text mentions the role of AI in maintaining this stability. It talks about AI observance predicting instability before harm occurs.
Yes.
Identifying behavioral drift, resource anomalies, or conflict escalation. I'm going to push back here. That sounds like a sci-fi dystopia.
It really does sound like that at first glance.
It sounds exactly like Minority Report, where you get arrested before you even do anything wrong.
It's the most natural concern to have, and Dukas spends significant time anticipating it. This raises an essential question about the role of technology in governance.
How does he resolve it?
The text lays out a strict, immutable constitutional rule to prevent exactly what you are describing. AI is a sensor layer, not a sovereign.
A sensor layer, not a sovereign. Explain the mechanical difference.
A sovereign has the power to dictate, command, and punish.
Okay.
A sensor layer only has the power to observe and report. In this framework, AI can observe vast patterns of data. It can audit resource flows from the stargates.
So it's just watching.
It can detect anomalies that suggest a system is breaking down, and it can advise human counselors or mediators, but it has absolutely zero authority.
None.
None. It cannot legislate a single law, it cannot judge a case, it cannot issue a sentence, and it cannot command a citizen. Humans remain 100% accountable for every action taken.
So it's more like a highly advanced check engine light on the dashboard of society
Yeah.
rather than a self-driving car that locks the doors and drives you straight to a rehabilitation center against your will.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. The AI enforces transparency. It keeps what the text calls the transparent governance engine honest. All AI logs regarding major decisions, public resource flows, and institutional actions are entirely public to actualized citizens. You cannot have secret surveillance state programs.
Because everyone can see the data.
Exactly. The AI makes corruption, hidden institutional drift, and structural inefficiencies visible to the public so that human beings can correct them.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at the board.
Yeah.
We have the pieces.
We do?
We have actualized citizens living free from scarcity in the lift economy.
You check.
We have a 10-section merit Congress generating ideas without party loyalty.
Check.
We have a highly vetted president steering the ship as a systems integrator.
Right?
We have a 13-justice temporal lattice keeping interpretation stable. And we have an AI sensor layer keeping the whole thing transparent.
It's a complete system.
But where does all this interaction actually happen? How does a mere idea actually become a reality in this incredibly complex world?
To answer that, the document introduces the environment where all these operators meet the sovereign metaverse, or D3 geometry.
Let's break down D3, because this sounds like we're strapping on virtual reality headsets to pass laws.
It's not a virtual reality headset, it is a framework of constitutional geometry.
Oh, geometry again?
Dukas describes three geometric domains. D1 is the individual domain. This represents your personal autonomy, your guaranteed rights, your privacy, and your creativity.
So D1 is me.
Yes. D2 is the collective domain. This is Congress, the public institutions, the shared Stargate infrastructure, the public stewardship.
So D2 is us.
Exactly. Historically, across all human civilization, these two domains are always at war. Individualism eventually fragments the collective, or collectivism eventually crushes the individual.
Right, it's the classic political tug-of-war. The needs of the many versus the rights of the few.
But D3, the sovereign metaverse, is the engineered constitutional space where D1 and D2 interact without destroying each other.
How so?
It's a structured procedural environment where individual sovereignty and collective coherence actively reinforce one another.
The text calls this interaction psychergesis.
Psychergesis. It's the mathematical rule of mutual strengthening.
Mutual strengthening.
It ensures that the individual gains capability from engaging with the group, and the group gains capability from empowering the individual. The system is designed to learn faster than it degrades.
I want to get out of the theoretical for a moment. What does this all mean in practice?
Let's ground it.
Let's say we need to build a new Stargate hub in Chicago to handle increased temporal transit. How does a law like that actually get passed in D3 without political theater?
Okay.
The author outlines the Constitutional Codex, which is a 9-step sequence. Instead of just listing the steps, let's walk this Chicago Stargate hub idea through the process.
That's a perfect test case. Step 1 is inception. The civic need for a new hub enters through the distributed D-operator Congress.
So they see a need.
Let's say representatives from the stability and community sections analyze transit data provided by the AI sensor layer and propose the hub to alleviate bottlenecking.
No grandstanding, just identifying a systemic friction point. Then it moves to step 2. Visualization. The executive branch, the PHI operator, takes that proposal and creates visible, highly detailed, testable models of the new hub.
They map it out.
Right. They simulate the energy draw, the architectural impact on Chicago, and the resource requirements.
Once it's visualized, we enter step 3, programming. The Judiciary, the PSI operator, reviews the simulation to define the constitutional boundaries.
So they ask the hard questions.
Will this hub displace actualized citizens? Does it violate the D1 rights of anyone in the region? So immediately, all 3 branches are involved in shaping the idea.
Step 4 is deconstruction. This is where all branches work together to strip away redundancy and excess.
The trimming phase.
In our current system, this is where a bill gets stuffed with billions of dollars of unrelated pork barrel spending to buy votes.
Oh, definitely.
But in the Constitutional Codex, deconstruction mathematically removes anything that doesn't generate lift.
Which leads perfectly into step 5, crystallization. The executive commits to a final, coherent, hyper-efficient form of the Chicago Hub Plan. It is locked in.
Step 6 is responsibility. Budgets are irrelevant because of free energy, but operational stewards and strict timelines are assigned. Individuals are attached to the outcomes.
Then the real work begins in step 7, the cycle. This is iterative advancement and real-world testing.
So they don't just dump a massive building on the city.
No, they build functional prototypes, test the temporal transit load, and adjust based on real-time data.
Step 8 is system momentum. This is where the AI sensor layer and administrative systems take over to automate the repetitive tasks.
The maintenance phase.
The AI ensures the power grid routes the necessary free energy without human micromanagement, guaranteeing reliability.
And finally, step 9 is product. The completed, fully functional Stargate Hub is integrated into the fabric of Chicago society, successfully reducing friction and generating measurable lift.
Looking at that narrative, the 9-step codex is like a highly rigid, engineered assembly line for durable human progress.
That's a great way to put it.
It completely removes the political theater, the midnight votes, the grandstanding on cable news. It focuses entirely on delivering a finished product that mathematically benefits society.
And what's fascinating here is that this codex makes the TDUFT Constitution the first governing document in history, designed specifically to learn faster than it fails.
That's powerful.
It's not a static piece of parchment written centuries ago. It's a living, error-correcting engine.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today. We've taken an incredible journey from a broken, scarcity-driven, polarized two-party system all the way to a harmonic, lift-generating civilization governed by quantum physics, base 10 mathematics, meritocratic filters, and total, uncompromising transparency.
And we must remember that at the center of all of this massive, towering architecture, the stargates, the AI sensor layers, the 13 justices, the sovereign metaverse is the citizen operator.
The actual person.
The actualized individual remains the ultimate source of legitimacy and the ultimate beneficiary of the system's lift. The math exists to serve the human, not the other way around.
It's an intellectually fascinating vision of what a constitution could theoretically be. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought.
Yes.
Something to really mull over on your own as you navigate your day.
It's a question that gets to the absolute heart of the human condition.
Exactly. This entire framework, beautiful as the math might be, relies on the absolute elimination of scarcity through advanced technologies like stargates and free energy.
It does.
It requires citizens to act with perfect psychogesis, naturally and mutually strengthening each other. It assumes we can replace our desire for punishment with a desire for restoration.
A big assumption.
But it raises the ultimate question about human nature. Is our biological and emotional hardware even capable of operating without the very friction, tribalism, and scarcity that has defined us for millennia?
That is the big unknown.
If you take away the struggle for survival, if you guarantee every need is met, do we harmonize into base 10 operators, or do we simply invent entirely new, mathematically unpredictable ways to fracture? What happens to humanity when we actually achieve perfect lift? Do we soar, or do we lose our edge?
Can we survive our own utopia? It's the ultimate test of the TDUFT framework, and perhaps the ultimate test of our species.
It is indeed. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the TDUFT operator framework. I hope you walk away today armed with a totally new perspective on what a constitution can be, and maybe the next time you look at a gridlocked political debate, you'll find yourself wishing for the clarity of constitutional geometry. Keep questioning the structures around you. Until next time.